You are in Vibrant Company, and I'm so happy you're here.
Hi, everyone. My In Vibrant Company featured guest this month is Annastasia Seebohm Giacomini. I knew her in New York City as the global CEO of Quintessentially Group. She is currently the CEO of Brilliant Minds Foundation. She left New York and moved her life to Europe, where she splits her time between the countryside in northern Italy and Stockholm. She's a woman who's achieved so much so young. For more on Annastasia, go to invibrantcompany.com. But without further delay, here's our interview. Enjoy.
Hi, Annastasia. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so thrilled to have you, and I'm sure that my readers and listeners will be so excited to hear all about your journey.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm excited to talk more.
Good, very good. There already exists dozens of profiles about you out there. You can learn all about your business acumen, your career success, etc. And I hope today that we can spend some time really getting to know you as a woman. So one of my first questions for you is, you've had such an amazing career at such a young age. You've had entrepreneurship experience. You sold a business quite young. You started at the bottom at Quintessentially, worked your way all the way up to global CEO, big deal, and currently now are the CEO of Brilliant Minds Foundation.
Okay.
What would you say your characteristics or traits are that have helped propel you throughout your career journey?
Firstly, it's just old-fashioned hard work, especially at the beginning of my career. But I was, and even now to some extent, first in, last out, working through vacations, willing to, miss things to get the job done. With age, I have learned that balance and health is the most important thing, but I still believe that just your hard work is the best way to succeed. And then on top of that, I think it's having a curious mindset.
Yeah.
It's being willing to jump into a variety of different things. I don't feel like any job is ever below me. And I think it's important to just raise your hand and try lots of different things.
Yeah, these are really good answers, especially by curiosity, because some people can be very set in terms of what they think they're good at or what they think their future is going to look like. And I think that in having that mindset, they might miss out on a lot.
Yeah, and
were you always very clear about like where you saw your career?
I was always very, very, very clear. But I have always been incredibly flexible. I mean, that's indicative of my life now. I met somebody, I left my life in New York, I live in Italy. So whilst I was always been very clear about where I want to go, I have always been willing to kind of like throw it all up in the air and try something new. And I think it's that combination. I'd also read a long time ago that, try and do your job in 70% of your time so you can allow 30% to learn other things. And I try and apply that to my life in general, not just to work. If there's something I want to improve about myself, for example, I took this role and it was a much more public-facing role. There is a stage presence that you have to have. And I wanted to fix my posture. I would say my posture wasn't bad previously, but it wasn't excellent. So I started working with a postural expert who...
How did you get that feedback? How did you know that?
Through my own self-assessment. I'd seen enough photos of myself and suddenly I thought, God, I'm going to actually physically be on a big stage. I'm going to stand there. I'm going to be hosting lots of events. There's going to be photographers at these events. And when you start to think about stage presence, I was like, well, good posture is extremely important. Nothing to do with it is to do with my work, but this is something I wanted to improve personally. So I started working with a postural expert, and she developed these practices for me, and they're 8 to 9 minutes a day, and my posture is just like worlds apart in a 12-month period. You go back, you have to look back to see how far you've come.
That is amazing. I love that answer because I think so many women think that to have a job like yours, they need to be fully formed and ready-made. And I love that even at your level, you're still finding things that you think you could be better at and finding the solutions to solve it.
I mean, I would say even more so. For me, even more. I mean, I've always been a little bit like this. I am huge on New Year's resolutions. I'm huge on setting goals. But I think we're always in evolution. And, it's it's simple as I realize now, like the importance of eating good meals, the importance of low intensity exercise. You grow and you learn things about yourself, and you read more, and I think that it's an evolution.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. On this topic, I was reading one of a profile on you, and you mentioned that, or the profile mentions that earlier in your career, you got feedback that you had a tendency to dominate, or something along those lines, and you had a very strong personality at work, which is feedback I used to get. Yeah. And this was really tough feedback that I used to get, especially my last job, where you were, running big teams and you had a lot of cross-functional partners and et cetera. And I love that you said you worked with someone there as well.
Yeah.
And something I'd love you to talk about, because I don't think it's talked about enough, is this idea of a more feminine approach. I would love to hear anything that you could tell us about, like what she taught you or what women should know.
Yeah, I will. And one thing I do want to, because it sounds like I just work with a lot of private specialists. There was certainly a time where my budget didn't necessarily allow for that. I have always, YouTube has always been kind of my best friend for these things. So before I started working with apostolates or one-to-one, it was YouTube videos I was doing. Right now, the thing I'm really into is face yoga. On through YouTube videos and apps that cost $20-$30 a month. So I always would suggest people, the internet can be your best friend in terms of free and more financially accessible things to do to self-improve, and it's certainly always been a tool I've used. With regards to my life coach, I had this feedback that I was quite alpha. And I saw that behavior in myself as well. And I felt to be a really effective and well-respected CEO, you had to have that energy. And I saw somebody I was managing, a young woman.
Yeah, most people would think that, right?
Well, and I didn't like seeing that I'd influenced somebody to behave like that, because that's what they thought they needed to do to succeed. So that's when I decided to work with somebody. I would say, one of my favorite ever guided visualization. So my life coach has a business called Electric Woman. She believes that everybody has an electric version of themselves. So that's not striving to be somebody else. That's striving to be kind of the best version of you. And it's about drawing that out inside you. So we did this guided visualization. And I think you'll appreciate this, and anybody that consider themselves a bit of a New Yorker might appreciate this. So guided visualization, and she made 3 versions of myself sit on a bench and have a conversation. And along comes the worst version, which is stressed, busy, probably should have washed my hair the day before. Just like, and I'm like this, and I'm like on my phone. So what were you saying? Okay, but let me just reply to this, and then maybe we can have coffee again on Friday. But let me come back to you. So that's like the just stressed, highly wired. Then there's the everyday version, which is quite high energy, a little bit distracted by my phone, not so much. It depends if something happens. Chatty, and then there's the best version of myself, which is so much slower and just so much more present and listening more and calmer, and just like a quieter, more relaxed version. Now, I strive to be that. What this exercise taught me was to not be the worst version more than anything. Like it helped me be so aware of the worst version of myself that I could let her go much more often. Even if I'm just mostly in this version, at least I know what I'm working towards and what I don't want to be. And that translates to leadership as well.
That is a really interesting exercise.
Yeah, and I think when you think...
It takes a lot of courage. I would love to do an assessment like that.
Yeah, because I think you can apply it to the way you speak to your spouse. You can apply it to the way you are with your friends. You can apply it to how you are in the office. That worst version comes through in all of it. And so does the best when you have the discipline to apply.
Right. Very interesting. We'll have to look her up. Okay. So at IBC, I really try to drive home the message that success is really an individual thing and it looks different to a lot of people. And even to an individual, its definition might change over time.
Oh.
Considering all that you've done, how do you, for yourself, define success? And has it changed over time with changes in your life?
It's absolutely changed over time, and it continues to evolve. And I think when you have different life experiences, you reassess what's important, what success looks like. Above all, to thine own self be true. I think it's above all, it's understanding who you are and being happy with that. For me, that is ultimate success.
Agreed.
I mean, just being cool with who you are. Like, I like, that I like me. Are there many things that I need to improve on? Of course. Are there things that I would like to change and grow in? Yeah, without a doubt. And then around that, through my own experience of loss, time with people you love is just paramount. So being happy within yourself, time with people you love, and then like at peace with what you're producing, with what you're doing with your time. That could be being a highly effective global CEO. That could be being a really present wife and mother. I think to be at peace with how you're spending your time.
Yeah, completely agreed. And sort of like ignoring all the outside noise that's telling you what you should be doing and how you should be doing it and by when you should be doing it. I think we get lost in that a lot, especially women. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I talk a lot about the importance of pivoting and changing your mind and bouncing back from struggles and negative experiences a lot on the website. And can you name a time where a negative experience or not getting what you want in the end worked in your favor?
Yeah, I can think of lots of times. I will say that probably the one that had the most profound impact over recent years was the passing of my father, which was unexpected. It just made me reassess how I was spending my time. And I very quickly pivoted from living on an airplane and going to everything that I thought I should go to and I needed to be at, to, without a shadow of a doubt, prioritizing my health and slowing down and sleeping. I used to be 4 or 5 hours a night, be productive. And now sleep is number one. I think,
that's something I need to fix.
Sleep is just the most important.
Yeah. When you were, just to pivot back to your career journey a little bit, when you were coming up at Quintessentially, because you literally worked your way up from the bottom to the top, right?
Yeah.
And again, as I mentioned earlier, at a young age, how did you deal with the fact that, number one, you were so young, and I'm sure the people that you were working with and the clients that you were facing, the vendors you were using, sometimes were much older than you, way more experienced than you. And the fact that now you were sort of the boss of a lot of your colleagues. Did you ever have moments of like self-doubt, confidence issues, questioning yourself, or you knew it was just right?
I think both. I think I knew it was right. And of course, imposter syndrome was real, especially in the beginning. There were many times I was mistaken for an executive assistant instead of the CEO when people arrived to meet the CEO. Now, my issue with that, I don't mind being mistaken for an executive assistant, is how I started. My issue is that people treat people of different hierarchies differently. So that was what upset me most about that. So I would always be quite vocal about it. Definitely happy to call anybody out in a very kind way. And I would definitely tell my colleagues about my experience. So younger women within the organization knew that if something happened, it wasn't exclusively to them. So I would say that was, I think you can have imposter syndrome. There's a great TED talk, fake it until you become it. I think you can have both imposter syndrome and deep down inside know that it's right. Again, I've got to say, like, YouTube motivational videos were my best friend. I love meditation, visualization, motivational talks, a helping hand in things until you no longer need those tools. And back to the point of hard work. If you're working hard, then even if it doesn't work out, you can be at peace with yourself.
Exactly. Like, whenever I had my issues of self-doubt or questioning myself, I always knew my work was good. It was never that. It was just convincing myself that once I got to that table that I belonged, and sort of like ignoring and killing all those negative voices and questions and things that from the past, perhaps, that had sort of messed with confidence a little bit.
And even if it doesn't...
But I'm so happy you keep talking about these sort of free resources.
Yeah. And I think if it doesn't work out and you've worked hard, at least you know that you've worked hard, you know?
Right. It wasn't the work, like you showed up as your best self and you did it.
There were other factors.
For whatever reason, it doesn't work out. Exactly. Yeah, that's a big message I'm constantly trying to drive home to the young women that I mentor. Like, go into every interview like you want the job, whether you think you can do it or not. Just give it your all. And that's not the reason you don't get the job. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Totally agree with you. I love that. You're still very young, but looking back on the younger you, like what kind of advice, or what's the big thing that you wish you could tell her?
Health, without a doubt. I'm sure,
I love that. Yeah.
But just health. You can still do it all and be a bit healthier in the process. Meditation, I think it's so important. And I'm quite disciplined, but for example, I won't let myself, if I'm going to scroll on Instagram just to switch off, I have to do Pilates that day. So, I try and like coach myself into, and of course I scroll and sometimes I just want to, switch off, and it's an easy, reels are an easy switch off. That's fine, but I'm not going to waste like 20 minutes doing reels if I'm also not going to do 20 minutes doing Pilates. So trying to have that.
I love that.
Yeah, it gets me off my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need that. I need a bit more of that. I'm a little too nice to myself. A little too like free and let myself get away with too much.
Balance. It's all balance. Health and meditation.
Balance, I agree. So you moved quite a bit. You were in London, then in New York City, and now you are spending time between Stockholm, another big city, and the Italian countryside.
Correct. And I was
if a woman was listening to this or having coffee with you.
Sorry, I was just saying, and I was
even before that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is my move.
Right. So how do you adjust? How do you find the courage? I know a lot of women who are afraid to take opportunities because they don't want to move their lives, make new friends, and deal with all that comes with it. Like, what helps you? How do you make friends? Like, how do you set up a new life?
How do you set up a new? It depends where you are. Is the truth. So this is the 7th time I think I've done it, from university move and so on. I love New York, which was the place I moved, and if I thought try Italy, if it doesn't work out, New York is still there. My best friends are still there. The life I had is still there. And New York will always be there. So that was a safety blanket. And I feel that with anywhere, my family and my friends in Athens, my family and friends in the UK, you can always go back. I don't believe going back is a failure at all. So that's my safety net.
Agreed.
I've always got New York. I've always got Athens. I've always got London. I've always got that. The second is, if not now, when? Life comes in chapters. I got my blood works back. This is the healthiest I've ever been because the produce in Italy is just excellent. And in New York, there's pros and cons. In New York, I was gluten-free, dairy-free. In Italy, I eat as much tiramisu and pasta as I want, and my blood works perfect. New York is high energy. This is lower energy. There's something to gain from everywhere. And then I think you have to be comfortable being alone if you're going to move. You have to be comfortable being in your own company, I should say, rather than alone. and Google Translate now in Italy, less so in the other places, but here,
Practically.
yeah, practically.
It's like my best friend, one of my most used apps. No, but what you said is really important about that self-love, because not only, like you said, you're going to be alone a lot and being in your head, it needs to be a nice place to be, but
Yeah,
to open yourself up to making new relationships, you have to kind of like who you are,
yeah, for
you
sure.
know? And I think that's a really good point. Like, it starts with the inner work, and that's what brings all the new relationships and new friendships. People ask a lot, how do you make friends? And it's like, I always say, just have an open mind and be authentic,
Yeah, for sure.
and it'll come, right?
I talk to
Oh.
strangers all the time. So I met my husband because I sat next to him on an airplane. I've met so many interesting people on airplanes. I met some of my best friends in New York at Soho House, meat packing. Like I like talking to people, and through that I have made my best friends in New York. I have met my husband. So yeah.
Based on the conversation that we just had, if somebody asked me a word to define you, your life, and your successes, that word, again, curiosity, is the answer. Because it sounds like it's what propelled your career. It's what's propelled your personal life between romantic and friendships. So that's a huge message I think people should take.
And I'm interested. I'm like curious and I'm interested, whether that's about reading something or whether, that's about meeting the person walking down the street, or I've always been interested in what's going on around me.
I love that answer. Really good one. Now we're going to switch to a couple of fun questions to get to know your taste and style a little bit better. So bear with me.
Because I'm working on my style.
Say that again.
I said it's interesting timing because I'm working on my style a little bit. I just did a color consultation.
Okay, well,
pink sweater.
It really works. I like it a lot on you. And I like that you always look so feminine, in my opinion. Very stylish. Okay. All right, here's one question. Since, again, back to Quintessentially and your experience there, where you worked with the finest establishments, vendors, highest taste level, all of that stuff, what is your favorite restaurant or dining experience in the world?
Oh, my favorite restaurant in the world. This is easy. It's a restaurant at the Four Seasons in Athens, in Giacomini. It was a Nobu. It's Matsuhisa. So Japanese cuisine, which I love. It is undoubtedly the most beautiful view. It's tranquil. It's in the bay of Giacomini, an amazing sunset. I always feel good after I've eaten Japanese food. Like I never feel weighted or heavy so it's by the Greek Sea, which is just my favorite, and it's Japanese food. So Matsuhisa in Athens at the Four Seasons in Athens.
I think it's a great answer. And we always fly through Athens to go to the islands, but I think we have a night there this summer. So I'm going to check it out. I hope it's still there.
I think Athens
think
Athens for 48, 72 hours should be on people's radar more. It's just an incredible city and beach destination.
Yeah. Okay. I'll hit you up for some suggestions. Okay. All right. Here's another one. It's hypothetical. Money's no object, right? An insane amount of money has just dropped into your lap, and you can only use it for travel.
Okay.
What are you doing? Take us on your journey. Who are you going with? Where are we going? What are you wearing?
I mean, it's, I'm not going too far from home. I'm buying a boat and I'm inviting the people I love onto my boat in Greece. There are some adventures I'd love to do, the gorillas in Rwanda and safari and all of these things. But my motherland, I think, has the most beautiful waters, and I am most at peace and happiest out on them with the people I love most. So I'm buying a boat and on rotation, I'm inviting the people I love to come and enjoy that.
Can I tell you something? That's literally my answer. I was like, we're doing a world tour and we're going to have different people join us at different parts so that it stays interesting and fun.
Exactly.
So as we end this, I have two last questions for you. What's next for you? What's coming up? Where can we see you next?
Well, we're leading up to our big moment of Brilliant Minds 2023, which is not too far away now. So you'll definitely see me in Stockholm, welcoming some of the most interesting people in the world to Stockholm next month, and having some really interesting conversations and doing some work with the community there as well. Then in the summer, most likely, between Italy and Greece. So really living our Mediterranean lives. And then we have some exciting things.
Hopefully we see you.
Yeah, exactly. Would love that, Italy or Greece. Yes, so that's
we need to figure that out.
For sure.
Okay. Final question. A quote that exemplifies your view on life.
I think it's DVF. Slight tangent. Every year I have a new Smithson's diary. I write a quote for the year, and I set 5 New Year's resolutions, and I have to complete 4. I've been doing this for 12 or 13 years. I think this was the first quote I wrote in the first book of this, and it was DVF. I'm sure it's you. And I think it goes along the lines, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew the woman I wanted to be.
I love that. That's the perfect way to end it. Thank you so much for your time. This has been really, really great. Good luck to you on everything you've got coming up. And I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. Thanks so much.